My siblings, please reach out your hands in prayers over me. Most High, we ask that I may speak with your voice and that we may hear with your heart. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of our God. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. May Christ be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Good News according to the book of Luke. Glory
Glory
to
to
you.
you, O Christ.
The people were standing around watching, but the leaders sneered at him, saying, "He saved others. Let him save himself if he really is the Christ sent from God, the chosen one." The soldiers also mocked him. They came up to him, offering him sour wine and saying, "If you really are the king of the Jews, save yourself." Above his head was a notice of the formal charge against him. It read, "This is the king of the Jews." One of the criminals hanging next to Jesus insulted him. "Aren't you the Christ? Save yourself and us." Responding, the other criminal spoke harshly to him. "Don't you fear God, seeing that you've also been sentenced to die? We are rightly condemned, for we are receiving the appropriate sentence for what we did. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus replied, "I assure you that today you will be with me in paradise." This is the gospel of Christ.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Layers and layers and layers. Earthly rule and heavenly rule, and how many times we've hung our hopes on pie in the sky by and by. If we keep God safely out there and all the good things safely out there, then we have no obligation here and now. And that is a temptation we fall for all too often. And then we have the other temptation, people who want to rewrite Jesus into some conquering king. That's really the antithesis of his whole entire point. And we watch the Christian nationalists do that. We've seen that over a long history of the church, that pantocrator Jesus with no sense of humor and all that power. That's not what was going on. And that's not what God showed us. So in our first reading, we're looking at the crowning of David. And David was the least of the brothers, some wimpy kid. He turned into a decent war leader, usually by the cunning and clever route. He took a tiny unit of soldiers and went and kicked ass because he came in an unexpected way with a small group. That was the way that David was even a warrior, was around the corner, being clever, not being strong. And we have this sense of rulership where all the elders came and together delegated authority to him, granted him authority. Well, you can't grant authority you don't have. And that's something that our rulers forget. The power of rule comes from the consent of the governed. So it really comes down to what rule we consent to. And you'd think I've been preaching a lot of TQR stuff lately or something like that, but that's definitely the mode and vibe I'm in. If we can go to God's house, if we can see ourselves in God's house, that changes all of our perspective for everything else we see. Yesterday was the unfeast day of C.S. Lewis. And we have two very different rulerships illustrated in the Narnia books. A couple of different times, in fact. We have Aslan, who comes and calls, who sings into life, who loves into hope, who gives and sacrifices. A lion, yeah. All that picture of majesty. Sure don't act it, though. I think my favorite part of those stories is actually the times that Aslan was a cat in The Horse and His Boy. Was just a small, quiet accompaniment that the scared kid could cope with. It was only when something went bad that that cat shadow loomed large. And that roar came out. Because that was needed in that moment. When we get to Colossians, we hear about taking part in the inheritance in the light granted to God's holy people, being rescued from the control of shadow, transferred into the kingdom of the Son of Love, the embodiment of love, the visible sign of the invisible God, in blistered, crying, sometimes cranky human nature combined with divine. That duality is important. The rulers that we seek are these strong things. The ruler that we need is this comforting thing. We need a safe harbor to tuck into. We need an Abba. We need a big brother who's been there, done that, and can hold our hand and help us over the rocky road. We need that kind of leadership. And frankly, we have to follow the wise advice and the good instruction. So we also have to agree to the reglas, the rules that actually will keep us safe, but we'll find those as we walk, right? You'll notice that the only rules that we get from Christ is love God and give it all you got, and love your neighbor and yourself equally. We're further told that good religion is taking care of people, meeting the needs. We're shown an example of healing and teaching and wandering and being humble, standing up when the need is to stand up. That's the example we've got. So we are the beginning of a kingdom. And sadly, we're still at the beginning of the kingdom, right? We haven't managed to extend it very far. Because people love to grab any symbol they can and make it that tasty authoritarian image. And it's our job to walk toward those walls singing songs of love. And if enough of us do it for long enough, the walls fall, just like Jericho. So that's the thing that's really on my heart right now. And I'm not even sure what the question is in here, aside from how the heck do we do that? But I dearly love for us to talk about